Archaeology. Rubicon are part of the Transport Scotland Archaeology framework, and as part of that, we ended up winning the contract for doing this first stretch of the A9. Today's talk will present the preliminary results of investigations ahead of the A9 dualling from the Tay crossing to Ballinluig. And I would like to start by acknowledging the work of Mick Dyack, Stuart Farrell, and Gary Coop, who led the field teams on the ground, and Mick and the post-ex team at Rubicon for moving things along since we finished on site. Road schemes tend to be a bit of an adventure for an archaeologist. I love them personally. You kind of never get what you expect, but you also always get a few surprises along the way. And that was certainly the case with this project. Right, so our client on the project was Transport Scotland. The project was managed on behalf of Transport Scotland by Jacobs, with Rubicon responsible for delivery of the services. I also want to acknowledge the support of Ed Danaher, who's the archaeological representative of Transport Scotland, and also Abby Portwood and Johnny Dempsey of Jacobs, who were on the ground constantly and very supportive of us during our work. I think this image, I hope I'm looking at the right one, gives a very good feel for the environment we were working. We were working alongside the A9 on the floodplain on the east bank of the Tay. The land was largely agricultural, with occasional areas of woodland, and in some cases the ground sloped steeply up to the east and got quite hilly. The route, or basically our brief, the route ran for, as David just said there, the route ran for 8.2 kilometres, parallel to the River Tay. Our brief was to undertake some earthwork surveys, a number of historic building surveys, and we excavated over 500 trial trenches. The open area excavations then resulted from that in 5 locations. And we also have a kind of an outreach program going on, which I'm kind of fulfilling today as well a bit. And our post-excavation analysis and reporting is just about to commence. So what I'm talking about today is very preliminary. It's kind of like breaking news on the project, and hopefully in the future we'll have some more detailed analysis that we can report back to you on. Right. So I'm going to be focusing on 4 areas in this talk today. 2 Bronze Age settlements in locations defined as Area P. Is that working there? Yeah, perfect. And Area N and P, sorry, yeah. My eyesight isn't brilliant. I hope yours is better than mine. And also Kindalig and Cairn, which is located here. And also I'll be talking a little bit about elements of Wade's Military Road. I see there's a very cheaply priced book at the back if anybody wants to buy it. I'm sure there's loads of them, it's a great deal. You can see the black line coming up here, and a little bit here as well, and up here as well. So there's elements of that we looked at as well, where it was coming into contact with the proposed road development. Ballinluig, for those of you, is right up just off the top of the picture here. So that's where we are. So practically in Ballinluig is where most of this is happening. Right, I'm just going to start off talking a little bit about the prehistory first, and then I'll jump into the 18th century archaeology after that. So the prehistory on the scheme comprised of 2 distinct Bronze Age settlements, both of which were located on slightly elevated ground on the edge of the floodplain of the Tay. So presumably strategically located to be as near as possible to the river without the risk of flooding. So quite clever. And when you stand on these sites, it's really obvious that that's what it is. It's quite a subtle fall away, but I think significant. On my map here, the areas that we're going to be talking to you about are area P2 up here, and then this bigger area down here, area N. These date consistently to the Middle Bronze Age and contained evidence for a number of buildings, food processing and storage, and we recovered some nice pottery as well. Right. So this is the first one, for furthest north one up by Ballinluig. So this is what we call Area P, and revealed a really interesting sequence of features excavated expertly by Stuart Farrell, sitting in the front row here. Well done, Stuart. Most of this was clustered around. So if you can see here, we've got like two clusters of features. There's a circular one there, and then another kind of big clusters are here. So these are the remains of buildings. So this first one is really well defined, nice for those of us who used to like doing join the dots when we were young children and things. This one was easy, whereas this one was a hell of a lot more difficult. So with this one, we have a well-defined circular building, about 8 meters in diameter, and this was radiocarbon dated to the Middle Bronze Age. Second building up here was, as I say, much less well-defined. Main activity here was also Bronze Age, as indicated by radiocarbon dating and pottery, but there was also some residual evidence for Neolithic activity in the form of pottery. Evidence for processing and storage of cereal was identified in the form of at least one cereal drying kiln and a saddle cairn with a rubber stone using for grinding grain. Additional evidence for storage was identified. So I think there's one of the kilns there, just right there. And then we also got what we call 4-posters and 6-posters, which are elevated grain stores. So you can see a 6-poster there and a 4-poster there. And there's another probable 4-poster here as well. So, and the final thing I want to just mention is we found one human cremation. It was a token burial. So that's that little spot over there. That we just got bits of cranium fragments that were cremated. As I said, it's a token burial. The whole body wasn't there. It was just elements of it. And this was contemporary with the carbon dates, practically identical to the carbon dates that we got out of this area of activity here. Right. Again, so this is a drone shot of the well-defined building, building 1 that I spoke about. You can see it's really clear. You can see the post holes that would have held the upright, timbers for the walls, and then down here the post holes are doubled up, and you've got a kind of a porch arrangement. And we think this is the entrance in here. I have kiln envy after seeing Kathy's talk there. They were quite fantastic, and I'm afraid this is not going to get any oohs or ahs out of the crowd. But this is, again, we're in heavily truncated ground here. You can see that there isn't even much topsoil around the edges of the site. This land is just constantly ploughed, and literally the second we were off the site and backfilled, it got ploughed again. So we got 2 possible kiln sites in this. One appeared to have an arrangement of post holes associated with, which may have been a rudimentary windbreak, which would have assisted with the operation of the kiln. Cereals recovered across the site included naked barley, oats, wheat, and emmer wheat. The presence of a quern stone and rubber also confirmed that grain was being processed on the site. So here we have the rubber and the quern stone in situ, and here they are after they were excavated. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know how these work, you put grain on this kind of concave surface on the quern stone, and then rub it with the rubber stone, and it basically grinds it into flour. Right, and just here we have an artist's impression of what one of these things would have looked like. This is drawn by Johnsky Miller, one of our graphics people, and basically they're kind of standard thing. If you've got a flue that separates a fire pit and a bowl, basically stops the naked flames getting at the grain. So you light your fire here, it draws the hot air up through the flume into the bowl. You have a permeable surface over the top of the bowl, which you spread out your grain in, and then it heats the grain and stops it germinating, and then you're good to store it for the future, for the winter. Right, so I mentioned these 4-posters and 6-posters. So here you go. Here's a nice 4-poster there, a drone shot again, and a 6-poster. So really, really identifiable. How these things work is they basically have posts on the ground, they elevate a bit of a silo off the ground, so a platform, put your grain in there, it's kind of contained in an area, and then probably roofed as well to keep it dry, keep the rodents away, or other animals, and potentially on the floodplain of the Tay to keep you high and dry. And I went searching on the internet, and in Senegal, I found these, and that's in my head what they would have looked like. Obviously with 6-poster ones, they look slightly different, but that's what I think they would have. So basically, we have taken a lot of samples. We've started processing. We're identifying grain, different types of grain and things like that. And we will try to, in the analysis phases of the project, we're going to start looking at trying to reconstruct maybe some parts of the diet that was around in the Middle Bronze Age in this part of the world. Right. So from there, I'm going to move on to Area N. This is the largest area that we excavated, which was approximately 700 meters south of Area P. And here we excavated again, it was quite a lot of features, about 230 features, including 3 roundhouses, 2 grain stores, and 2 large associated pits. The majority of the archaeology was clustered around the 3 buildings. So you can see there's one building here, another one here, and then another one up there. So it really focused on those. And the 2 large pits that I was talking about are just there. So just a quick, so that's the 2 pits just in here that I want to just mention. These 2 large pits, let me just zoom into that. So these 2 large pits here, they appear to be related, one holding a large upright timber post and the other containing a large assemblage of probable Middle Bronze Age pottery. So this one here, I think you can actually make out the socket for the post in the bottom of the pit, but in the section of it, you could really clearly see the pipe. And what this is, potentially some kind of a marker, possibly a totem, I don't know. But it's something that was obviously designed to stand alone and stand proud. And I think the fact that we had a pit beside it, which was crammed with lots of pottery, again, seems to indicate that there was something special going on there, and we will be doing further analysis on that. So here's a piece of the pottery that came out of that pit. It's kind of a large, thick-walled vessel, handmade, kind of a storage jar, and it's Alison Sheridan has dated it to Middle to Late Bronze Age, so about 3,500 years old. And a reconstruction of what that might have looked like is here. So kind of a big storage jar, really heavy duty pottery. So just looking at some of the buildings then in Area N, as I said, we had 3. I'm going to just look at the central one first. This is what we're calling Building 2. It was a circular structure and plan measuring about 9 meters in diameter. It was defined by a circle of 10 post holes. I think you can hopefully see them clear. This is pre-excavation, so you can see the post holes going around the outside. So 10 post holes with an internal area of about 62 square meters. There was a central hearth, which you can see there. So the ranging rods there are 1 meter each. So quite a big central hearth again. A date of 1503 to 1317 calibrated BC was returned from one of the post holes. And then we had shallow depressions around the inside, which are dark in this slide. So these are interpreted as wear patterns within the building. And we got carbon dates from these, and again, 1435 to 1269 BC and 1506 to 1323 calibrated BC. Again, placing this in the kind of Middle Bronze Age again. We're anticipating, or we interpret this as having timber uprights with wattle and daub walling between them, probably a thatched roof, and we believe it functioned as a domestic building, probably for an extended family. Right. So this is a very difficult building to interpret, but it is a building all the same. So what we've done is we've just added an indication of the post holes that we believe are structural. So again, it was defined by about 10 external post holes. It's 9 meters in diameter. The internal area was about 65 square meters, and we had this porched entrance formed by 4 large post holes at the south end of it. And again, we got a radiocarbon date from this building of 1498 to 1302 calibrated BC. Again, placing it, the structure in the Middle Bronze Age. So along everything is kind of fitting into that time frame as well. And again, we had the 4 posters and 6 posters in area N, so more grain storage. This one was quite interesting in that 2 of the post holes had either been replaced or strengthened. So this is a 6-post, 4-poster. There you go. So an artist's impression again. This is one by Hannah Sims. Just giving you kind of a feel. This is from a different project, but I just reused this as an example. So again, timber walls, thatch roof, a porch, probably a very smoky interior because it was a nice big fireplace and no windows. And again, just to recap there on that bit of the archaeology. So what I think is just putting it all together is we've probably got a couple of little settlements on slightly elevated ground facing the River Tay. So I think that connection with the River Tay is very important. It probably may have been the route north at that point. But so that was quite good. And also we're getting evidence for processing cereal, and that would indicate that it gives us a kind of a clue as to what kind of farming was going on with these people. I think also that area of land probably is the best parcel of land in the locality for agriculture. It's ploughed intensively to this day, and it gets really hilly off to the around and about with lots of woodland and things like that as well. But from that point of view, I think so. We're looking at kind of small communities, kind of with a good connection to the River Tay and kind of good farming economy running. Right, I'm just going to briefly mention Kindalloch and Cairn. So one of the main reasons that we went we were involved in this project was because this scheduled monument was on the route of the proposed dueling. So we were going to do a full excavation of this, and we certainly did. But it was initially believed to be a prehistoric burial mound. We've fully excavated the site. A lot of it by hand. It was hard going, really tough going, and found absolutely no evidence of archaeology whatsoever. Yeah, it was noted. One thing that we did notice though is that the really prominent nature of the mound when you're driving past. I mean, it really looks business-like, and there was 2 large stones sticking out of the top that looked like a kist, which is why it got scheduled in the first place. But the reality, of course, is the roads either side of it. When they were building the roads either side of it, they cut into it, and it made it even more pronounced. So from that point of view, it looked the real deal, but it was nonsense. But anyway, there we go. Right, so from there, I'm just going to come forward about 3 millennia to the 18th century, and one of the most impressive things about this whole scheme was the remains that were related to Wade's Road. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. In response to the Jacobite risings in the 18th century, King George I sent General George Wade up to Scotland in 1724 to assess the situation, maybe to crush some rebellious Scots or something, I don't know. But Wade recommended construction of roads, bridges and barracks to move troops quickly through the Highlands. This included the Dunkeld to Inverness military road, and an unforeseen outcome of this, of course, was he also opened up the whole of the Highlands to sightseers. So they kind of almost started tourism. So that was quite impressive. So our brief again was to record the road, the retaining wall that goes with the road, and 3 structures as well. So we did historic building recording on 3 structures related to the road, and that's included Farneyhawk Bridge, Coolandoon Culvert, and Ledpetty Bridge. And I think that is your head, Stuart, right down in the hole there. That is the bold Stuart Farrell, ladies and gentlemen. So just starting with the road itself, it was constructed by excavating loose material along the route down to bedrock in order to create a good foundation. The ground was then levelled up using large stones with smaller packing around them, and then the surface was levelled off using gravel. And then there was a number of lots of culverts constructed to channel water below the road to kind of prevent from erosion. And I have to say again, like, I mean, it's worth going along there and taking a walk, and it's just spectacular to walk down. I was blown away when I went down for the first time. No bother. One of the structures, the first structure I'll talk about is just very briefly talk about it, is a Fernie Bridge, which is a military bridge. It carries the Dunkeld Inverness Military Road across a small stream by the Tay. This is built of grey granite, typical wade bridge, albeit slightly wider than normal, and built between 1727 and 1730. This is one of the culverts I mentioned. This is a Coolandoon, arched tunnel under the road, really, which is constructed from roughly shaped grey stone. And again, this function to take the water away from eroding the road. So, and it still works. Yeah, it's quite amazing that it was working away happily when we were up there. And then this impressive bridge here, the Leadpetty Bridge, this carries the military road. Again, 3 phases of construction. It was originally built in 1728-29. Had a second phase of construction in the 19th century as part of the development of Dunkeld House and Gardens, and then it was remodeled in 1814. So site visits, we're doing it with the outreach. We basically had quite a few site visits. It was brilliant having kids really enthusiastic kids on site, also historical societies and the Young Archaeology Club. Our social media is gearing up. Keep an eye on our YouTube page. We will have a documentary out coming out in part of this. And then public talks as well is something that we're just going to continue rolling out, as we move along. So where we are at the moment, all site work complete, and the reporting is advancing nicely. There are some excellent opportunities arising from the work, including study of Bronze Age subsistence strategies and practices, especially considering the range of archaeological features and artifacts which relate to crop processing and storage. We have a nice group of Bronze Age buildings which can be compared with other structures in the region to gain a better understanding of vernacular architecture during the period. And also the relationship between the Tay and these settlements and the use of the river and its floodplain and the wider landscape will all provide an insight into how people engaged with their environment during the Bronze Age, and there will be publications in the future, both academic and popular. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.